Hello, this is a short video on form-based code as an overview. The CPAC committee had requested a short, brief overview of as a refresher for form-based code. So today we'll be talking about the form-based code overview. Next slide. Okay, so form-based code is a zoning that emphasizes the building placement, style, and massing as primary and building uses as secondary. So if you look at the two examples on the screen, you'll see that on the left side is a CVS pharmacy building as a standard CVS. This is their standard sort of style building. And on the right is actually a city that dictated the certain architectural character, and then the CVS pharmacy just went into the building so that the building actually stays and maintains the character that the city was looking for. So, and you can see the placements as well. So it does, form-based code does concentrate the building placement closer to the street, as you can see on the right video, which promotes walkability and enhanced architecture, which strengthens placemaking. Next slide. This slide shows land use maps and zoning districts are actually controlled by a regulating plan. This plan lays out the vision of the built environment. The form-based code requires items like formation of block structure, streets, how buildings in front of street, the percent of building build out as it relates to the street frontages, parking locations, open space requirements like parks, styles of architecture, which is extremely important, and street design and on street parking. Next slide. All right, these are two examples of Milton's form-based codes regulating plans. On the left is the Deerfield regulating plan. On the right is the Crabapple regulating plan. These are the regulating plans for both Deerfield and Crabapple. The higher the transect number, the higher the density. Each transect number has specific requirements that reflect that area. Next slide. These images are along Highway 9 existing pre-form-based code. Over time, these properties will be redeveloped. As you can see, they are all set back from the road with parking in the front and have little to no architectural character that relates to Milton's placemaking. Also, we highlighted some signage because signage along the corridor is also not reflected in Milton's branding's initiative. Next slide. Here's another example of existing architecture and signage that is totally inconsistent with the Milton look and feel. As the corridor develops over time, these types of shopping areas will be redeveloped. Next slide. This is the public shopping center along Highway 9 in Bethany. It has a big sea of parking up in the front and does not induce walkability. The anchor is the public store, and the other secondary stores are actually hurting or ailing and actually are failing. The businesses in them are not doing as well, as this type of shopping experience and architecture does not promote placemaking. So people are starting to shy away from these kinds of shopping environments and trying to get into more of a placemaking form-based code environment, the work, live, play type of environment. Next slide. Now, this is an example of the Pike Nursery on Highway 9. It is a recent form-based code development. The building is placed closer to the street. Parking is on the side and the rear. And the architecture enhances the Milton character. Next slide. This is a photo of Fire Station 44 on Highway 9, recently completed. I just showed it because I wanted the committee to know that the city does hold itself to the same development standards that we expect from the development community. So this building would reflect the architecture, look and feel, and placement that the form-based code would dictate. Next slide. Thanks. This is a slide of a redevelopment of an existing shopping center. It's Watercress Shopping Center. The new buildings on the left, the image on the left, is showing more of a form-based code product. It has outdoor dining spaces, outdoor patios. It has courtyards between the two buildings. It has an arcade up on the top so you can walk and actually have a nice experience. So what happens on these types of developments is that it would be ideal if everybody just said, okay, we're going to knock down all our existing buildings and we're just going to start from scratch. But in reality, what happens is we have a lot of infill. We have a lot of existing structures where people are saying, look, I don't want to, I'm just going to leave them the way they are. So it really takes time for this, through attrition, for these buildings to start to get redeveloped. And once we get the enhancement of Highway 9, then the real estate values will increase even more, and there'll be more and more pressure, and people will start saying, well, you know what, it's actually more advantageous to sell the property, wait to get the rental incomes, which would be slower over time. And that's when these development locations start to come in for redevelopment. Next slide. So this slide shows the importance of the architecture in form-based code. On the left, you'll see the self-storage that most people come in and ask for. That does exist on Highway 9 right now, and they wanted to build a new one, and just to the left of that lot. And when they came in, the picture that's on the right side of that grouping shows that we made the new self-storage building look and feel like an office building, so that when you're driving by, visually that building has the character and style of an office building. If it ever gets converted, the use gets converted to another use, it will fit right in and maintain the look and feel of Milton. The same thing on the upper right corner was the self-storage on Webb that was proposed. And on the lower left and right is the rendering and the actual of the buildings and how they actually end up complying with the form-based code. As you can see, the architecture totally enhances the product of the building, so that this way, if those buildings ever convert to another use, which would be a secondary, that's why use is a secondary, the primary would be the look and feel of the building. So when you're driving through Milton, as long as you get a nice feel and placemaking, and it looks like the character we want it to look like, the use really becomes almost secondary. This here is showing existing residential developments within the form-based code. The upper left and the lower right are two subdivisions. And as you can see, the upper left is, and the lower right really show houses with garage doors up in the front, parking. The upper left has sidewalks on both sides. The lower right has no sidewalks. But what happens on these developments is they just become suburban style residential developments, and they really don't have any character, and they don't promote any walkability. Let's go next slide. And this here is showing some recently completed form-based code product on Webb Road. And it does show that we can dictate the style to have that kind of historic Milton-esque style, and that the buildings in front roads, so when you're driving on the roadway, on say on Webb Road, you're actually seeing the fronts of buildings without garage doors. So these are all rear loaded product. Other uses would be to put these houses on public parks and greenways, which is the upper left photo. And it kind of shows, you know, we have a lot of porches, we have a lot of architectural character, and so that it promotes like a walkability and a really nice environment to be in. Next slide. And this one here is showing the heritage at Crabapple. There's a residential development in Crabapple. I wanted to show it because it is a form-based code product. It's larger product. It's not, the form-based code doesn't always have to have a lot of density. These have less density and much wider frontages. But you can see some of them on the right side in front, public park areas. And then on the left, you can kind of see a nice experience when you're walking. You have your porches up in the front. You can see they're very deep porches. They're 8 feet minimum. And people really put their outdoor furniture on them. And so as you're walking down, you get a really nice street presence. You don't see garage doors. All the garages and cars are stored in the back of these houses. So the whole street presence feels nicer and softer and more Milton-esque than just seeing a bunch of garage doors. So I think that's the last slide, and I hope everybody's enjoyed this video. Again, if we need to see anything else, we can always enhance and produce another one if you really need. Thank you.